Hi, welcome to the TechHub.training solution video for the Inventory Intel Challenge in Python. This video will cover a potential solution to this challenge, and because it's in Python, there is a high chance that your solution is different in some ways, and this video will present just one possible solution. We encourage you to try and find your own before watching this video so that you will most benefit in the learning process. But if you've been running into issues or you've found your own solution already and you want to compare to what I did, then hopefully this video will be of use to you. After finding your solution, we also encourage you to reply to the challenge with an image or your thoughts on the challenge and the solution you found so that you can be part of our growing community. Going into the challenge, opening up Visual Studio Code here, we are told in the file that we are working at a local grocer as part of operations and that we are helping with inventory management. Our goal with this is to track inventory and how it changes through customers coming in and purchasing our items or receiving deliveries and seeing how inventory changes between the two different functions. And so you are told that the operations will need the information that you find in performing these different duties with this Excel file in order to manage the store better. And so we'll start by going through the tasks, and I'll cover along the way some of the tips and mindsets that might be helpful to you to understanding this data set and the solution if you ran into trouble with those things. So first you're told that we need to import the pandas module because we're going to be using data frames as they are very helpful tools for storing and manipulating data in a Python environment. They create very clean looking tables. And so what we're going to do is import pandas, and then it's important for us to understand what the different sheets are in the Excel file. And so you might be able to do that by opening the Excel file. And this is helpful in all data and analytics scenarios, is understanding the data you're working with. So if you open up the Excel file, you will see that you have 3 different tabs. And so you are told to create those variables from the read Excel, and the sheet name argument within this function call comes from understanding this data that we have. So you read those in, and I cover 2 possible solutions for how to read those into the dictionaries. You can either use .iterrows, which is the way that I did it the first time, and so you establish the dictionary that you're going to have, and then you iterate through the data frames, and you say the key is going to be the item of that row, and then the value is the quantity of that row, and then the inventory key value. And you do that for both delivery and purchases as well. This is another way to do it. You can do set index to which column in the data frame, and then quantity column returned, and then also do a toDictionary function call. The next step is writing a function for updating inventory values. And you're told that you're going to write this function, and it's update inventory, and then the 2 arguments are inventory, which is that dictionary that we created, and delivery, which is also the other dictionary. So you're supposed to update the inventory based on the delivered items. So iterating through the delivery items, what you can do is if the item is not already in inventory, then it needs to be a part of that dictionary. And so what you're going to say is that item, that new item that we're calling here, is going to be equal to the stock that is part of the delivery. And remember, dictionary is always key value if you're using the dot functions call, and so you want to add it to the dictionary like this. And so if the item's not there, then add the stock. Otherwise, if it is there, add to this item the stock that was just delivered. And you're going to return the inventory because that is what we are keeping track of ultimately. Next, we're going to process transactions and write that function. So again, you're calling in this function two dictionaries, inventory and purchases this time, which is from the customers. And you're going to establish again, this is my solution, and there might be other ways to do this, but stock out, we can establish that as a list, that variable, and then iterate through purchases in the same way we did up here in update inventory for item quantity and purchases.items. If the item is not in inventory, then we can continue. It means the purchase is irrelevant to the inventory that we have, and it will not be updated. And similar to how we increased the inventory for a delivery based on the stock that we got, we are also going to decrease the quantity based on a purchase in the inventory. And then the other thing that's important here is if inventory for a specific item is less than 0, then we need to delete that from the inventory list, and by default, delete gets rid of the key and the value will disappear with it. And the reason we want this append of the item is so that it goes into our stock out list that we created earlier. And then we can return both the inventory and stock out. And that's important because it will tell us later on when we get to task 4 what items are out of stock and we may need to reorder, and tell our operations, our purchasing department to buy more of that item. The third function is to get items below threshold. And so we can call that get low stock, and we'll call it inventory and threshold. And threshold is only established later on. But similar to what we did in the previous function, we're going to make an empty list called low stock, iterate through the inventory list, and if stock is less than the threshold, then we will add it to the list. That's just like what happened in our process transactions function. And we will return that list. So the final task is to implement those functions to update the inventory. We already have the inventory list, and so what we're going to do is update the inventory, and I'm calling my inventory variable inv for shorthand. So first, update the inventory with inventory and delivery that we created in the very first step. The inventory stock out is going to be, and we want to call both of these since we're returning a tuple in my function. And then process transactions. So this is pretty straightforward because we already created the functions and we're just giving it the calls that we already knew it was going to be given with the dictionaries and other variables. And then here we're told that low stock is set to 5, and we can use that in our get low stock function. And so then we're just going to print out these variables and these lists so that we have the information to give to purchasing. So we're going to say, here are the items that are out of stock and deleted from inventory, and that is stock out, which was the second argument in the customer transactions processing function. And so because of that, we know that cucumbers and chicken nuggets are out of stock and we need to buy more. And so that's very helpful to have that stock out variable because of that list that we created and appending it before we deleted the item. Otherwise, we would not be able to add to the list. We would get an error. And then items that are low in stock, we can check stock, so milk and string cheese, and then current inventory quantities. Here is just a list of everything that we have. And so everything is ready to give to purchasing, and they can make the decisions of how much to order and what to order. And Hopefully this was some good insight into a real-world-ish situation, and hopefully this solution video was able to help you in forming your own.